My YouTube channel started in 2019 with the video For the Love of Elephants. Now this video was inspired by the amazing work and awesome people of Game Rangers International in Zambia, where I've been lucky enough to spend a few days in the summer. I certainly didn't expect 3 years on to still be putting things onto my YouTube channel, which now has many episodes of my programme Not in the News, which covers conservation issues, charity work, eco-friendly firms and products. Also the infamous online bingo, which has been a great fundraiser for the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation. And so 3 years on, I am about to put on part 2 of the video series that started this all off. It's called More Than Elephants, and it follows my 3 weeks volunteering and showing much more in depth the work that Game Rangers International do in Zambia. So Game Rangers International, or GRI, have 3 core pillars: their wildlife rescue programme, their community outreach programme and their resource protection programme. And hopefully during this video you will see how they all combine to empower rangers and local communities to conserve nature. It's very important at this point to point out that you will actually not have any physical contact with the elephant orphans. It's very important that they do not see humans as part of their normal everyday life. And the reason why you will always be asked to wear a green coat around them is to make you seem like part of the environment that they are used to. So you stay at 3 camps on this journey, all have really good accommodation with shared shower blocks. They also each have a different volunteer area comprising of comfy seating and shared cooking facilities. The team spirit does mean that you actually work together and cook together, but you do have an input into your shopping so that all tastes are in fact covered. Your first week starts at the Lusaka Elephant Nursery, which has recently relocated into Lusaka National Park from the Lilai Nursery. And this is really for the benefits of the elephants. The young orphans sleep in this boma during the night and spend some of their rest time in the afternoon. However, once they go out at 6 AM, it needs a clean. So your duties start leaving it clean and tidy, ready for bedtime. These orphans are at the nursery due to the traumatic events that they have experienced. Due to this traumatic start, the elephants are actually observed 24/7. The keepers at night working 4 hours on, 4 hours off, and when they're off, they are still actually sleeping above the elephants in the boma. Next, it's time for milk. The baby orphans are fed every 3 hours with a special formula, and it's your job to mix it up to the instructions on the board. You then take it out to the keepers, and this is in fact a video of their 9 AM feed. And as you can see, some really want their milk. Even baby elephants need their greens, and so now it's off to you to go and collect the browse with Oliver, the head keeper. The truck needs to be filled, however, using the machete to actually cut them is not part of your job description. So the move to Lusaka National Park is actually part of the redevelopment of the national park, which is going to include the new Wildlife Discovery Centre. We were there actually the week before its grand opening, and you can see we're in the Exploratorium there, looking at the amazing artwork that the children will see when they come and visit. It really is going to be a hub for ecotourism and conservation within Lusaka. Now, the amazing orphans have not been forgotten, and at 12 o'clock they get a lunchtime feed in a special boma with a public viewing platform. They also really need their mud bath filled at this point as well, because the temperature is really quite hot. This is all about encouraging visitors to learn about the threats that elephants face, and the work of GRI and also the other conservation teams in Zambia. So let me introduce you to the orphans. You have Alimba, who's the eldest at almost 4 years, Chippambili, who is almost 3 years old, Mabila, who is about 2 years 9 months. You've got Zongo at 2 years 8 months, Deliso just coming up to 16 months, and Wanwai at around about a year. Although, as you can tell, it's always very hard to work out which elephant is which, particularly at feeding time. It's an absolute privilege to be able to spend time watching these interactions, the interactions between their amazing keepers, the surrogate sibling rivalry that goes on within this little mini herd, as they are nurtured back into full health in some cases, relieving the trauma of their experiences and getting them ready for their next step into returning to the wild as truly wild elephants. The Wildlife Discovery Centre and this viewing platform all form a very important part of the education, not just of visitors to Zambia, but also to local people about how important their wildlife is. And the development of Lusaka National Park will be a true joy to watch over the next few years. So all this in just your first morning, which is very impressive. You will also be doing feeds at 12 o'clock, 3 p.m, and really importantly, preparing the formula ready for the next 24 hours so that the keepers can mix them up as quickly as possible and keep the milk warm. We also obviously take the feed out to wherever the elephants are, but very much importantly, we make sure we stay those all important 10 metres away. Flexibility is important in your timetable because after all, this is Africa. So although we have a plan for what we should be doing, you can never be quite sure what might happen next. So that was the wildlife rescue aspect to the programme, but there's also the community outreach. And we were able to go and visit the little Nadaba ladies. They, in fact, crochet the David Shepherd Wildlife Adoption toys and were also the inspiration for my Elephant Epic crochet challenge, which I used to help raise some funds this year. They've also branched out into basket making, absolutely amazing, but definitely too big for my suitcase. There were opportunities to talk to the research team, understanding the importance of behaviour observation studies, which I'll talk a bit more about later on, and obviously more wonderful opportunities to spend time with the elephants. We went out again and visited several other community outreach projects, which obviously, as I said, is the second pillar after the elephant rescue. Making Zambian buns, where the ladies have been helped to set up their own oven and is a social enterprise, making an income through this skill. They are very delicious. I'm not sure that we would actually get a job with them. There was also some market gardening going on and farming and crafts, including making some amazing doormats and jitenga bags. There is clearly more wildlife around than just the elephants. So here are a few shots of what you might see in your first camp. And an interesting time for the tent ropes when you are in camp with those very cheeky monkeys. We were very lucky and extremely privileged to be able to return for the opening of the Wildlife Discovery Centre. And here we are with the early morning preparations before the dignitaries arrived to announce that the Wildlife Discovery Centre was officially open. They also have been able to set up a fantastic collective within their shop, and there's some amazing things to buy while you are there. The Wildlife Discovery Centre is truly a lasting legacy to GRI's chief patron, the great wildlife artist and conservationist David Shepherd. And it was a truly proud moment to watch David's daughter Melanie and granddaughter Georgina actually plant a tree that will actually grow into a living legacy from this wonderful man who really wanted to see conservation education in Zambia brought to life for all. The celebrations were also shared with family members of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who was the first president of Zambia, an inspirational conservationist himself and a very, very close friend of David Shepherd. So wonderful that the two families could share this time. So week 2 is spent at Musa Camp, which is just inside the Kafue National Park, and is a bit of a journey, can take up to 7 hours to get there. You still have tented accommodation. There is plenty of local wildlife for you to see, including, as you'll see in the next video, the tale of a leopard disappearing past our tent one evening. The volunteered share area offers great space for chilling, cooking and eating, as well as lovely views of the lake. So the lake will be a regular feature on your travels in the area, both from the animals and the locals' point of view. You'll get to see some great sunsets and also take part in biodiversity studies out on game drives where you will be recording the local species, which in fact is a clear indicator of the health of the ecosystem. And of course you'll get to see wild elephants, so important to the release of the orphaned elephants. You will also get the opportunity to visit some more local villages alongside the awesome Britius, the community outreach officer for the area. The importance of the lines of open communication are never more so when you are here, whether visiting a fishing village, dealing with the trauma of hippo or croc attacks, or talking to local farmers about the success of the zero visibility shade cloth to keep their cattle safe from lions. In addition to the biodiversity studies, you are also able to set up some camera traps, which is great for observing other species in the area. More wild elephants, in fact, the amazing wild dog pack that is around, and also a first for me was in fact some bush pigs. An unusual activity is a trip to the local radio station where Britius hosts a weekly radio show. It's actually been so instrumental in changing the attitudes of the local people towards species and conservation, as the story of orphaned Nakala reflects. This little orphan was left behind by its herd and found inside a cattle corral. The farmer knew what to do, who to call to rescue the calf, rather than driving it out into the bush where it would have died. We very much enjoyed answering the questions about the human-wildlife conflict in the UK, somewhat different from Zambia, and in fact were the first volunteers to ever do this show live. We're very proud of that. Now, sunsets are very special, but bush breakfasts can be just as nice with a sunrise to follow. Now, Game Rangers International hasn't just got rangers in the middle of its name, but also at the heart of its organisation. There's no real photos or videos that can relay the dedication, bravery or inspiration of these guys. But at Musa, it really is the technological hub using a fantastic system called Earth Ranger. From Musa, you travel to Camp Phoenix, further into Kafue National Park, and home of the older orphaned elephants known as the pre-release herd. There are more comfortable tents and the opportunity to head out with the Ellies on their morning walk. Who cannot be inspired by watching these elephants take more steps towards their independence, learning to understand the wild space and the keepers staying further away? Now, don't be fooled into a sense of holiday here. There's still work to be done, and now there are more and bigger elephants than before, which means more mucking out, more browse, and a few are still being fed special feeds, including nutritional balls that makes baking look easy. Of course, there's always time for a snack for us and some more traditional Zambian bread rolls. Now, lunchtime for the elephants does mean a return to the boma for them to enjoy some more browse, and you get time to spend up aloft looking down on them and just watching them go about their lunchtime routines. There is, of course, ideal opportunities for birders amongst visitors, and here are a few photos of those that joined us during our trip. Quite a few different ones: kingfishers, hammerkops, eagles, storks, pelicans in fact. Returning elephants into the wild is not just about taking them back into the bush, showing them how to forage for food and leaving them to it. The teams at the release facility take part in some very special research. Not just behaviour observation studies of the actual orphaned elephants, which provide information about behaviour, welfare, and just knowledge of the milestones that these orphans should reach in order to reach maturity. But they have also recently collared some wild elephants as part of a trauma study where they are going to compare information gained from both the orphans and the wild elephants in order to see if there is any effect in the trauma that the orphans receive, and how it might affect their maturity or how they settle into a wild herd. Now, to collect the data, that is quite dangerous when you're trying to go out and track down those elephants. And we were able to see, as you can see, several herds that have got collared elephants that we needed to get data from. But unfortunately, there's always somebody in the way that can stop you going. So camp is alongside a very pretty river with an excellent volunteer area for relaxing and cooking together. There's also many opportunities to visit more local villages, improve on bread making skills, still not good enough to be employed, and also to visit the local chief and share information about wildlife in the area. GRI have a very special success story. When we were visiting in 2019, Chamalandu, the eldest orphaned elephant, was in fact pregnant. And while we were lucky enough to see her close to camp at the time, we had to wait for the arrival of her new calf when we were back in the UK. The calf was named Mutanzi David in honour of David Shepherd, and he has stayed close to the orphaned herd and the boma alongside his mum for the last 3 years. It was in fact my greatest wish that I would get to see them while I was there this time. And as this photo shows, one evening on the way back from our biodiversity studies, we were lucky enough to see Chamalandu, Mutanzi David and Musi, another collared elephant from the release herd, out in the bush. It was very exciting to see. But then we were going to be treated to even more exciting news when they came back the next day and visited closer to camp. This time with Tafika, another one of the collared elephants who are showing signs of wanting to stay independent in the wild. Now, Tafika, not quite where he should be in this photo, rather close to camp on the other side of the river. However, it was a very special evening when he chose to stay so close to us while we were having our last evening in camp. You finish your trip down in Livingston with one last night under canvas, celebrating with your team, and Bessie and Joseph just could not have been any better at looking after us. There are opportunities for excursions to visit the white rhinos that are in Livingston National Park, and also to see the amazing Victoria Falls from the Zambian side. You are looked after during your 3 weeks by a hostess and a driver. And for us, Bessie and Joseph really just became part of our family. They were amazing and looked after us so well. Words can't really express how grateful I am for the experiences I've had this summer, how amazing everyone was looking after us. I have tried to include the thank yous at the end, and I'm sure I've left somebody off, but the whole team at GRI are completely awesome. And the fact that Mutanzi David is now a healthy, strong, young 3-year-old calf is true testament to all the amazing work that GRI do through their 3 core pillars to make sure that the resource is protected by the amazing rangers, that the communities are engaged to protect their environment, and that the wildlife is rescued and returned to the wild. I can only ask you to follow them on all their social medias, to check out all the websites for both them and the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, and support where you can. They really are an awesome organisation, and thank you for a life-changing opportunity.